Hey everyone, and welcome to the HR Vision podcast. I'm your host, Ivo, and every week I'm going to have a conversation that matters about HR. This week I have with me Katarina Arbanas. Welcome, Katarina. How are you?
Thank you, Ivo. Great to have you here today. I'm feeling great. It's a sunny day here in Croatia and really excited to chat with you about HR today.
Awesome, amazing. I'm very excited about having Katarina in the podcast, and I'm just gonna tell you why. Katarina is with Microsoft for almost 17 years. She's a global black belt for business applications in the EMEA region. She's a human capital management certified and a mixed reality champion. But more on these later. We're going to talk about it certainly. She was kind enough to take some time of her schedule to come on the show to talk about the world of Dynamics 365 and how it helps empower the modern workforce. So that's the general topic for today. So let's get to it. Katarina, are you ready?
Yes, all ready when you are.
All right, good. Good. So let's start with the basics. Let's start with you. Just tell us a bit about you, your experience, your background.
Okay, cool. So I've been almost 20 years now in the workforce. I started as operations specialist in one of the regional insurance group here in Croatia. And then I've joined Microsoft as operations and sales excellence specialist in Microsoft Consulting Services division. And from there, I progressed throughout my career to become a resource management as well as a consulting practice leader for the region, having both consulting and support teams in many of the countries now here in CE multi-country area. And from there, I've took over a couple of sales and business development roles, working primarily with our partners in capacity of ISV co-sell lead as well as the GSI support lead. I was involved back when we were launching our cloud platform services, Azure, as a partner development lead for Central and Eastern Europe. And for the past 6 years or so, I am in business applications group as global black belt. So that's really a fancy name for someone who is specialized in a certain domain. For myself, that means people operations and human resources, as well as the complementary technologies that really complete our mission here to support HR throughout various of their functions and needs when it comes to empowering workforce, changing culture, driving visibility in terms of their employee data and so forth. So we're going to chat a little bit more, I think, about this today.
For sure, a lot of information right there. So going back a bit, how did you land in HR? Was always like an interest of yours, or I believe you started with technology, more data science, right? Something around those lines. So how did you land there? It was always like an interest?
Yeah, I started as operations, right? And it always kind of like had the theme of resource management, empowerment of the employees. This was actually my first job, right? How to make a workforce successful when they're on projects, working stuff for us in Microsoft, and just make sure that they have all the support needed to be successful at their daily jobs. My passion for topics like people operation, employee experience, culture transformation obviously started back then already and didn't come overnight, of course. Throughout my entire career, I kept close to HR throughout all of these roles, right? I have been part of our several projects as diversity and inclusion ambassador for the region. I've also supported our HR departments as a manager, as well as the field employee feedback provider when back years now when we were launching our performance management enhancements, how we measure success of our employees in Microsoft. So I always had that close interaction with HR. So when this role came up, now it's going to be in September, 4 years already, doing the people operations and HR. I knew immediately I need to really pursue that opportunity. I was so excited about. So, we were then launching our first Microsoft HR product from Dynamics 365 five side. And I was so determined to get that role because I felt that passion around human resources already early in my career. But it was HR plus tech, right? So it didn't really make sense for me to go into the HR department. It was more about how can we use technology to be an enabler for making HR more successful. And this is why I felt like this opportunity was a great one for me because I could combine my passions. And I remember back then it was funny, Ivo, but I will share with you. Once I got the role, I reached out to a global lead just to say thanks, like for taking a chance with me and everything.
Yeah.
And he said something I'll never forget. I'll quote him. He said, "Well, I felt like I didn't really had a choice. Really, it was either that or joining a witness protection program just to get away from you because you are so persistent to get the role." So a good
All
career
right.
and anyone to watching this podcast, fight passionately for your dreams.
All right. That's a great message. Okay, so you always had that passion and you just pursued it ferociously, let's say.
Yes, absolutely. And I didn't regret it. I mean, it was an amazing experience. And when I look at, the progress we have been making across the board, right, in Microsoft side, also with you, with partners on building, the elements and components to complete some of the gaps we had. It was a huge, collaborative effort and such a great experience. So it's a great time to be in this space for sure.
Absolutely. That's a very good introduction. I think it's a great starting point for the conversation that we're having here today. So if we're going to focus now on like how Dynamics 365, the whole suite, the HR environment and this HR technology that Microsoft is coming up with can help empower the modern workforce. Let's start in the beginning or with your general thoughts about what is special about this environment in Microsoft, and what is the impact? Your general thoughts on what is the impact that this software, this HR technology can have on HR people?
Well, we all know, right? Every business, anything we start with, it starts with people and ends with people. So think about somebody joining the company, right? So the journey of that individual really starts when they start the interview process. Apart from the fact that obviously hiring folks needs to figure out, who is the right fit and the right final candidate, the candidate itself has to validate is that job and the company with their culture and their mission and vision really aligns to their personal beliefs, right? Yeah. All of the last surveys out there underline that the purpose is far much more important than perks, pay, daily jobs, etc. So how do you do that if you don't have the right technology and tools in place, right? For both your hiring managers, for the HR to, recruit people, to onboard people. And then, once they join, to really make sure that you are capitalizing against your investments, right? To maximize their talent development, track their success throughout the journey in your organization. And at the end, all the way through offboarding and potentially separation once they leave your workforce, right? How do you make that experience smooth and seamless for them if you don't have the right tools and technologies in place? And that's really what's so special with all of the investments we are making, because for me, it was always about one, bigger investments we are coming from Microsoft, taking the advantage of different services and different solutions we have across business applications. We have Azure, we have modern work, obviously now taking a huge leap with employee experience and Viva as the ultimate employee experience destination. Yeah. And for us in Microsoft, I mean, we are I believe, in the right place at the right time to make that experience really seamless, right? And to create that journey for the employee joining the company smooth and easy and exciting for them, right? So they have the collaboration tools they need. They interact with HR like with any other, employees across the company, with that experiences that we are making. So it really becomes one seamless solution, or let's say set of solutions that serves on behalf of HR, right? So these tools, like modern work tools, they're designed for all departments, right? But it's for the HR to see how we can really put them to be more connected with people, especially during these times now in current pandemic, right, where people are so disconnected, let's say, and they're not coming to the office, right? And you need to make sure you maintain that collaboration, check the pulse of those employees, and just make sure you are there for them, right? You can support them as needed. So that's really where I see the biggest value that we can provide by using, our technology to work on behalf of HR and on behalf of the employees as well.
Yeah, a bit on, still on that. I think it also will help the professionals, the HR profession, the IT professional, be less worried about the processes and the administrative stuff that you can do, and focus more on people, on taking the space to look at the data and help the business strategize around people more than doing administrative tasks, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it really underpins that IT agility, right? That we need to have from the IT side, so they are not as well being viewed as, a department where you go when something is broken, but more like enabler, right? And a digital hub, if you will, to support the businesses, right? Their businesses to work smoothly, right? And this is where we are all heading, right? And that lines between IT, HR, finance are kind of like blurred, right? As we work in one unique and consolidated way these days.
Absolutely. There was this study that I was reading last week or a couple of weeks ago from PwC that showed that developing people to reach their full potential, improving the employee experience, and workforce planning are between the top 5 issues driving HR technology decisions. So these are the drivers, basically. So from your experience, dealing with this every day, working in this technology, do you agree with this? And how do you think Dynamics 365 can help overcome these issues?
Yeah, well, certainly I do agree, and I think everyone in this business will agree. Yeah. In current times and challenges around us more than ever, right? So people development and workforce planning, both operational and strategic one, have been a challenge for us for quite some time now. Do I have the right visibility on upcoming skills I will be needing in my company? How do I tap into my own experience, employee base, understanding their current skills and how do they potentially could evolve? And ultimately, how do I make this plan actionable to use these insights, right? So these challenges have been a while from now, right? And companies are still, I think, trying to figure out how to maintain and be agile as workforce is changing, to maintain and to do this strategic and operational workforce planning properly for their own organization. On the other hand, employee experience has started to gain spotlight heavily with current pandemic. When we think about the companies out there, they really quickly realized what enormous impact the same can have on their entire business. And when we think about Dynamics HR, the other apps from Dynamics side, like customer service or modern work tools, Microsoft Teams, all of these can help customers overcome those issues, right? Those challenges. So think about employee data consolidation, one single source of truth, as we say it,
Yeah.
having close interactions and connections with employees, using employee self-service, using power-ups, using Microsoft Teams, and then having that data insights needed for the workforce planning always accessible real time to make those plans for the future successful for their companies. So it's kind of like all blending together. And as we mentioned also at introduction, without the right tools right in place, those challenges would be huge these days, right? I think the times are long gone when we had a couple of spreadsheets, managing employees. There is a need now for the organization to really, many organizations out there, to really figure out like what drives employees, how they like to work these days. Do they like hybrid? Do they like more office? And start to be more flexible in meeting their own needs as well. And this is where HR plays a critical role. And HR, without the tools to support them, would not be successful in this mission. So it's kind of like all comes together at the end.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because that's still a big thing or a big discussion, especially when we talk in this podcast, for example, with some of our consultants or people around the area or the field. There's still a lot of companies using those spreadsheets. It's still a Microsoft product, let's say, but
Excel is the best friend of HR. Let's face it.
Exactly.
It always has been.
Let's face it. It's still a Microsoft product, but not the best way to consolidate your data and everything regarding people, information, and all that. But there's still a lot of companies using that. And it seems to be the biggest challenge. It seems always to be to get everybody on board, to identify that we need this and how this can actually transform the way we manage people and we get information secured, consolidated, moving forward. How would you convince someone, that thinking about these things, but they don't know? I want to start this conversation within my company, but I don't know how to start. I don't know where to start. So what would you say to someone like that, to encourage them to move towards a more seamless and integrated system for managing people?
Yeah. I think, back in the days when life was maybe simpler than today, you could get away, right, with files and just manage the employee data, right? Just in terms of when did they join to the company, how long they are in the company, what's their first name, last name, and so forth. But in today's world, that's just simply not enough anymore. HR is being tasked to provide data and intelligence about the people, their journeys in the company, their performance, their skills, right? So who do we have now with crucial skills we need to have? How do we develop those guys to be successful 5 years from now, right? So it's starting to become from passive data to an active data, right? For giving that insights around the workforce, which a simple file or tool cannot provide anymore, right? So I think that change is driven also from HR demanding better solutions to really serve their leadership teams and their organization as a true business partner, not just someone who will provide a couple of data about how many employees we have, for example. So these days are gone. And I think we don't need to convince anybody anymore about this, right? Because the situation we're all in right now pushes us heavily to understand that, right? And to get that insights about, what's my workforce consists of, right? What do they care about? How do we maintain them? How do we keep them in the company? What makes them happy, right? And for that, you need to have a little bit more, right? You need to provide a deeper intelligence about, some of the data that lies in the HCM system, but you also need to pull some of the data outside, from your collaboration tools to understand how do people actually collaborate these days. What do they care about, from, social aspects, for example, why they think, it's great for work for their organization. What do they believe, right? So it's kind of like coming to a one bigger problem that you might have on top of human capital management system. And that's why I see that shift, right, in terms of just going for all of this answer in the HCM rather than complementing that, feedback and tools you have in the HCM systems with some other tools you might be using within the organization to really provide that solid intelligence and to be at serve properly to your organization. And you can't do this anymore with files, right? So it's kind of like already there, right? That transformation happened. Now it's a matter of, taking this to the next level, really understanding what the future will bring with hybrid work. How do we support our employees, and what can we do from that cultural shift to digital culture change, and what do we need to do in terms of the people investments to make that leap happen, right? So it's becoming a more of the question of what do we do with all of this data, insights, and intelligence, rather than how do I get this data, right? So we kind of like moved, I think, to a second stage now with human resources and so many more topics, right, around the organizational workforce to really provide that insights.
Very well put. Very well said.
Thank you.
Nothing to add.
Okay.
Oh, here's your reason. Listen to Katarina. Okay. Let's move a bit on. I just want to have some background. You've been at Microsoft for almost 17 years. It's been a while, let's say.
Definitely.
You have a great deal, especially in the last 6 years, like you said, with people operations. What can you say, if you can say a small thing, about the evolution of Microsoft's products for HCM? How it has been in the last 6 years or something. How do you see that, and how much effort is Microsoft putting in those systems?
Yeah, that's a really great question. When I look at the big picture and investments we have been making in the past years or so, I'm literally amazed, right, in the plethora of innovation and progress we made. What's important to mention here, though, is that we see products, as we mentioned before, for HR spanning across Dynamics 365, Azure, modern work, of course, now taking a big focus with Viva for employee experience. And on top, obviously, our extended family with LinkedIn give us a leading position here to serve HR, from finding, hiring, onboarding, development, performance, learning, all the way to onboarding, right? So we kind of like have end-to-end footprint with our solutions across the board. And when you think about all of the innovations and all of the products we have been putting on the market that could work also on behalf of the HR, it's a double down investments, and more than ever, right? We are shifting our focus to HR. And I'm really excited to see this shift, right? As HR comes from the backend supporting function to the front line on defining company culture, talent attraction, employee experience, organizational readiness, and so much more. So we see that happening across the board, right? And for us, it's more about how do we put that technology, as I mentioned, to serve and to work on behalf of all of these changes we are seeing, where HR is in the driver's seat, not somewhere in behind, really creating that future of work, right? And all of the elements one organization needs to have to make that successful transition. So huge investments, exciting times, no matter, if you look at Dynamics 365, everything we are doing around HR, customer service, for example, Power Platform with Power Apps, so many great scenarios we can build around Power Apps and automation processes. And then when you go to the employee experience, when you go to insights with Power BI, it's so much of different options and different tools to serve for a different purpose, but on one platform behind, right? And that's really the key value here. We are bringing with our partners, right, to support our enterprise customers throughout this transition. And I often call digital transformation also a people transformation and the process transformation as well, because you don't have successful digital transformations there unless you think about people and the transformations and the changes you have to make there, the culture transformation, reskilling and upskilling your workforce. So it's so much broader these days, and the elements you need to think about are really are really big in many ways, right? So for that, I think on our side in Microsoft and all of the investments we have been making in this space makes us in a really great position to support our customers and partners.
Great. That's great information. I think indeed we've seen a shift, in the last 10, 15 years. HR used to be the last wagon on the train, right? It's like it's an administrative task. We need to focus on CRMs and ERPs and finance and legal, because those are supporting really the strategy of the business. And it seems it's shifting. And I see, I think you can agree with me that Microsoft is pulling the HR and the HCM systems to the same level as it was with CRMs and all that, because they have the same importance for the strategy of the business, right?
Yep. That's something that's new, right? That's something that we've seen, shifting and trending in the past couple of years. And the investments, for example, in the employee experience. And when you think about employee experience, also from Dynamics 365 side, right, we are putting a lot of our, processes and workflows in Microsoft Teams as well to make that seamless experience for the end users happening in their favorite collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams, right? So we are making those investments, and the employee experience as a theme is becoming, as a lot of analysts says, the next big thing after CRM and ERP, right? It's now EXP, employee experience, and everything we can do around that. And when I think about employee experience, it really depends on your organizational unique aspect around, the industry you are in, around, the unique business procedures and elements you are doing with your employees. It can happen that those experiences are happening in Microsoft Teams, but it can be, for the first line workers working in manufacturing, those will be in manufacturing on assembly lines, for example. So how do you make that they're not on the PC or on the mobile, right? How do you make that employee experience working for them? And for that, we are investing heavily as well in mixed reality tools, for example, holographic learning. We all know that the biggest success of learning comes from learn by doing, right? Learn by doing instead of learning online, for example. And when people, for example, join the company, they need to onboard. They have to figure out how to work on a certain machine using, our innovation tools we are doing with mixed reality, with Dynamics 365 guides, remote assist, that really defines that next level of employee experience there as well. So employee experience is a big theme. It involves a lot of different tools and processes, and we are from Microsoft side, I think, investing a lot, right, in Microsoft Teams, but also in other tools and in other solutions that can support that overall theme of employee experience.
Very interesting indeed. You almost touch in a thing that I want to talk a bit later, but we'll be there. We'll get there.
Cool.
It's fine.
Good.
No, two more things for you. The one of the things, of course, is the partner community, right? We are one of Microsoft's partners at FourVision, like many others. What is do you think the power, of the Microsoft community to grow Microsoft, and how do Microsoft sees the partner community now? How helpful can it be to the whole ecosystem, let's say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, partners are at the center of everything we do, right? So it's part of who we are as a company, and certainly part of the family. So for us, when we were launching our HR product, and throughout the whole journey so far, it was essential to have partners such as yourself at FourVision to be able to scale and drive that significant momentum we have had in the past years in across the world. And partners are our extended arm, and very often these deep specializations on business functions, like, for example, in today's talk, we focus on HR, can be found only working with partners. So every successful pitch, every business plan to support customer and implementation resulting with a good reference would not be possible without our partners, right? So they are here for us and with us from the beginning all the way through the end, and often they're staying with our customers for support later on. So it's a part of, as I mentioned, who we are, and I think for us, we would never be successful without having a strong partner ecosystem behind us, supporting and believing in our mission. So I'm taking the opportunity here now to thank you guys as well for the awesome collaboration so far. It's togetherness that makes us all successful at the end.
Thank you for the words. I just want to say that I really think the partner community and the way Microsoft works with partners, at least from our experience, mm-hmm. it makes Microsoft a more relatable company. You are not you of course you are a giant company. Everybody knows that. You have your hands in many things. But the fact that you allow people, or do you allow companies to come in to make part of to be part of the community, to make these partnerships that can actually enhance and make your products better, even better, I think it shows a lot of the type of company that we are talking about. And so thank you, and thank you back. That's basically what I wanted to say.
Yep, it's always a win-win, right? And it was always like that for us. And when I just think about my last role now here in Microsoft, right, and all of the engagements we had together, it wouldn't be successful without having the right partners with us on this journey, right? And what I really appreciate is, the innovation. When we start to launch something new, partners are the first, right? Being with us and also trying and being ready for the risks, maybe, while we figure out things, right? And just learn from there. And, with that learning, be able to support our customers better with innovation and solutions we are bringing out there for them to be successful. So, yep, that's definitely a great question, and I'm looking forward, and I'm always happy to see partners growing in their workforce as well. And I see in FourVision as well, new people joining all the time. Somebody new is joining. So you guys are growing as well, and it's great to see that we are building that ecosystem of HR partners as well across the board.
That is great indeed. All right, looking at the future now, you are a mixed reality champion. So yep. First of all, let's try to understand what that is. But my question in the end is, do you think mixed reality, these types of technology, are the most exciting trend that you see in HR technology? Or, if there are any others, please enlighten us.
Yeah. Yep. Well, mixed reality. I mean, I've been a while now in mixed reality journey. I think couple of years now, and the reason I went deeper in mixed reality was the fact I got so excited about the potential of using technologies like MR in the context of improving employee experience, onboarding new employees, as we mentioned in an example of manufacturing worker, for example, and essentially support them when people are joining organizations, right? So it's really, for me, mixed reality in the context of thinking about how it can support as well HR and workforce, right, and people joining the company to really be faster in onboarding, completing their working tasks, and get the support they need, and so forth, right? So it has a lot of connections with the things I have been doing from the people operations side, and I wanted to go deeper to really understand those use cases, how we can support our customers at the end, thinking about all of the stuff we have been talking about today. Cultural transformation, it requires as well to think about the change management, right? So it's different when you use a holographic experience, when you have your headsets on your head, trying to do something, right, and trying to perform a task. So it requires a lot of change, right? And that for that also, it requires to change that culture, right? How do we enable workforce? How do we change? And how do we drive readiness for the organization? So it's all connected at the end, right? The potential here, if you ask me, is really big. Technologies like HoloLens and the apps on top are becoming, I think, part of our daily lives at work. It's a journey, but I was really glad to be able to have the opportunity to go deeper in the possibilities there. I think it makes me much more prepared to, what's next in the workforce out there.
That's a very, very exciting technology for sure. How practical it is at this time, like how widespread will be, or how long it will take to be, a technology that everybody can adopt. When do you think it will be possible?
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on the industry and the unique use cases you want to drive, right? And everybody will start with something, with one use case. So, for example, we see industries like manufacturing and automotive really taking the lead because there are so many use cases, right? So, for example, support for technicians to get that remote support from the experts working on something in the manufacturing plant, and they cannot travel these days, right?
Yeah.
So you are kind of like forced to really find the right enablement and the right tools to get your business continuity going, right? So we see a huge leap there in some of the industries. Obviously, healthcare is one of them as well, right? Where you see enormous innovation coming from surgeons, right? We had that day of holographic surgeon experience. I think it was back in the February, where around 30 surgeons across the world performed the operations with assistance from their more experienced doctors across the world, using HoloLens, right, and using our technology. So you'll see some industries innovate and maybe taking that lead much faster, maybe than some others, because the unique situation they're in right now will just naturally push them, to leverage technology like HoloLens, like Dynamics 365 apps and our partners apps that we have in the ecosystem to really maintain and support their end customers at the end. And the others will definitely follow, right? If you think about the retail, for example, again, we have those remote audits and, inspections that, for example, is a great use case for HoloLens as well. So lots of different use cases, and I don't really think how long it will take. It's already there. As I mentioned, in some industries more than in some others, but we all need to start to think about what does it mean, right, for our organization. And that's really something that takes me to another thing. It's not really a trend, more like a necessity. Is that need to embrace the change, what's happening right now, and that change management, culture shift, investments in reskilling and upskilling entire workforce to be ready for the future is something I see immediate need today, and something that organizations will start investing more than ever to be prepared for the future of work. And for that, HR and the leadership teams across the orgs will need professional guidance, how to put all of it together to make that change. And that's an opportunity for us working in Microsoft ecosystem to make that transition successful with our customers, going through a massive change, how we work and how we collaborate. So I believe, hybrid type of work for majority of companies is here to stay, and digital culture change is happening right now for so many companies out there. And we in HR Tech need to figure out, how we can help them to just transform and thrive ahead of the opportunities they have. So that's really, where I see trends also blending with the needs of the HR and the leaderships to really be successful throughout this transition.
Fascinating stuff. This was really interesting. I only have to finish this episode. I have just I call it challenge, but it's not, because I never include this on the topics or whatever we discuss. But my question for you is, if you had one thing to say to HR professionals around the world that are maybe thinking that they want to move away from one Microsoft product, which is spreadsheets, to another Microsoft product.
Again with the spreadsheets.
Yeah. So imagine, the people that are looking for a system and they don't fully understand how can it improve for them their work life. So if you have an advice to give them, what would you say?
So I think, first of all, what is important before even talking about technology is for the HR and the leadership teams of every organization would need to figure out what they want to achieve, what their current culture is there a need to change, and how technology in that journey could support them, right? How do they see, for example, tools like employee experience, Microsoft Teams, and Dynamics 365 application could fit into that mission, right? It's more about understanding the organizational aspect, and then how can technology complement that. And for those already on the Microsoft journey, using a lot of our applications already, I think it's natural as well to think about how they can extend that and leverage already made investments in Microsoft to consolidate some of the HR challenges they have, and depends on the challenges, whatever they have, in terms of data insights, employee consolidation, employee master data, for example, communication with the employees. There is a certain aspect and part of our technology that can support them with that, right? So it's a matter of understanding really where the challenges are for the organization, and then tying those challenges to potential technology that could really help them thrive and be successful in terms of moving to the next step they want to be as organization.
Perfect. Here's some advice for you from Katarina from Microsoft. Thank you so much for taking the time once again. This was mostly insightful. I really appreciate the conversation. I hope you liked it too. Yes,
it was really, really great. Super flexible. Thanks, Ivo, and thanks for inviting me, and looking forward to watch the new podcast you guys will bring throughout LinkedIn and other networks out there. So thanks for having me today.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. Guys out there, take care. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.